Good morning, everybody. I hope you are all doing well. Welcome to this edition of Roll Call on True Crime with the Sarge. I'm your host, Joseph Giacalone. I'm going to bring Mike in. He is in the green room, quote unquote. I'll bring him in a minute. But just want to let everybody know this Tuesday coming up, I have Kristen Fedden, who is the former Montgomery County in Pennsylvania district attorney who actually got the conviction against Bill Cosby and also got a huge settlement on R. Kelly. So she's going to be on the show Tuesday at 6 p.m. And we have a couple other roll calls lined up for next week. So just stay tuned for that. Without any further ado, I'm bringing in Mike, everybody's favorite retired NYPD detective, Michael Alcazar. Mike, welcome back to Roll Call. This is a steady kind of thing here. You're becoming a fixture.
Good morning. Good morning, Joe. Good morning, everybody.
So, yeah, we got our coffee brewing. I did spill it, and I'm trying to rush to get this thing out there because Forensic Fiora K was asking me getting my hair done. I said, yeah, I was just finishing up my perm. So that was just getting ready for it. So good morning, everybody. Welcome to see everybody. So, Mike, before we got on this morning, there was some breaking news, so to speak. New York Newsday. I put out a huge interview with District Attorney Ray Tierney. And this is a huge expanse now of the Gilgo case. I'm gonna call it Gilgo Plus now. That's gonna be my new moniker for this, because he stated that they are looking at basically all the unidentified cases, all the death investigations that are going on out in Suffolk County, and they're trying to tie them. He even used the name Rex Sherman. He even used Rex Sherman and he used in Newsday they had the quotes yet to be named. So there are additional people that they're looking at, and then you tie that to the search they had, Mike, right? So there's something brewing out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we always suspected that they must have got a good tip or they never stopped searching. Maybe they found body parts and now they expanded it. Maybe they found more body parts. So as we discussed earlier, I think maybe they found more bodies. Maybe they're trying to solve other homicides. Maybe it's linked to Rex. Maybe it's not. But
Yeah,
it's amazing. It's amazing what a good job they're doing in Suffolk County, and it's also a crime that now you're solving these things. Now you're finding all these clues and perhaps body parts. So wondering what the previous administration was doing that delayed, solving this case. I mean, we know, but crazy.
yeah, we all know. Well, half of them are in jail, so that's usually a problem. But or trying to keep themselves out of jail. But yeah, no, this is actually kind of interesting in regards to this. But it's also a complete 180 that the district attorney. I remember when they had asked him, like, you're going to be looking into other cases, and he kind of said, like, we got the Gilgo 4, and we're going to basically, do this. I mean, that wasn't exact words, but something similar to that. And I was kind of upset and saying, you have the suspect for 4 of these cases now. Now the work is only beginning as far as I'm concerned. So I'm glad to see this complete 180. But, Mike, I don't know if this has to do with anything about the symposium that John Ray held in January, where he had, a woman who signed another affidavit that said that she saw Burke and Rex together. And then, Michael Brown asking for all the records publicly for James Burke, all the internal affairs. He was even asking for the FBI records in regards to James Burke. So I don't believe in coincidences of that. And I think it might have spooked the district attorney. And now all of a sudden he launches this. I mean, you remember NYPD was there, Nassau County was there, Suffolk County, all these cadaver dogs. They weren't looking for, the latest bacon, egg, and cheese out there. I mean, this was a real press to find additional victims.
Yeah, it was target specific for sure. For them to employ all those agencies, they were hard pressed to find whatever they were looking for. And I guess they did.
Yeah, and I'm not even going to even start looking at what potential cases are there, because just go over to Raul Catch-Lisk. He's got the entire map for Long Island, so I wouldn't even bother. If you're going to be looking into these cases about which ones, just go to Raul's website there, and he's got his YouTube page, Catch Justice too, because though he's already done the work for you, so you don't have to do that. But Raul was on this show, and we were talking about Andre Isaacs, with a sugar bear, right? These are the cases. Sandra Castillo, who was they were trying to tie her to John Bitroff because John Bitroff's name now has been thrown in the mix. So this thing is getting kind of interesting again. Just when you thought, like, okay, we had it, right? Things are going to settle down now. Boom, I think we see the second leg of this Gilgo case take off.
Yeah, Netflix must be drooling, right? They already signed up for, there's going to be a part 2, part 3. Could be, 100% this is going to be a movie. 100%.
It's and like I said, it's expanding now. I mean, if you imagine if they tie some of these older cases to either Rex or somebody else, I mean, this is going to be like huge news. And also then, people would say about the 1 serial killer theory, the 2 serial killer theory, we're going to get all our answers. Hopefully, I think that's the plan here. And I really like what the district attorney has done so far in this case. Like I said, I was a little disappointed, but you know what? He came through in the end.
He's legit. That's a good district attorney. I wish we had one in New York.
Yeah, well, the city could use a few, but yeah. So if you haven't been following Catch Lisk Raul, make sure you follow him, and he can do all the. Oh, Cake Spoo, thank you very much for that super sticker. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. Glad to see you back in the live chat. So then, Mike, let's switch to, because that was a little bonus content that we weren't planning on talking about, but I felt we would be remiss without talking about the Long Island serial killer news.
Yeah, of course.
Adam Montgomery, right? So let's shoot up to New Hampshire because the entire Northeast is under this like fog and rain. It's really crappy out there. Let's jump up to the New Hampshire. Adam Montgomery finally got sentenced yesterday. I was hanging out with the Grizzlies on Gizla True Crime, with Gizla and the True Crime Grizzlies. Yesterday, I watched the whole thing up until I had to teach class. My class started at 3:00, and I'm like waiting for this. I watched the entire thing, and I finally said, "Guys, I gotta go. Just send me a message about what happened." But I'm glad to see. It looks like he's got 56 years, and it's going to be consecutive unto the 60 he's already got. I'd like to have seen him get a few life sentences just in case there is something called life after death. We can get him for a couple of more of them before they can let him back out into reality. So we talked about this case.
What a monster that guy is, man. That guy had no emotion at all. I mean, scary, scary dude. And again, as we said, it was good that they brought him there, and then the family, could read their statements to him. I don't think it affected him, but very emotional statements, and he just sat there stoic, like this guy's a statue. This guy, hopefully he gets something will happen to him in prison. Who knows? But he's a bad dude.
Yeah, he's a bad dude. But speaking of those impact statements, right? The one from Kayla Montgomery. I mean, come on. What was up with that? Did you hear that whole thing? Basically, she just penned a love letter to him. I don't even think she mentioned Harmony's name in it. And then basically she's saying like, I still love you kind of thing. I was like, I guess for these statements, they don't read them first before they allow somebody to come up and talk about them. I mean, what a disgrace I thought that was.
Yeah, I guess they don't, right? I mean, or if they did, they just allowed it. I don't know. I mean, it's not unusual, right? We see what's going on with what's the other guy in Idaho? He's getting love letters. I'm sure this guy Montgomery is going to get love letters in prison. I don't know. There's some wacky people out there.
Yeah, no, I get it, but I mean, it was just it was inappropriate as far as I'm concerned, and my whole take on the impact statements was the impact that the loss of life of this 5-year-old, how it affected you. So like the two men who have one of her brothers, right? I mean, those statements were spot on, right? About talking about how it affected their son and how that they, that he keeps on asking about his sister Harmony and all the other things about he keeps her toy that she gave him. And that's an impact statement, right? That's something where it was really powerful in regards to this. And I'll tell you, I didn't listen, I never liked defense attorneys, right? So if Bob Mott is in the room, he knows this. I like Bob. Bob was the defense attorney that got me to start to like defense attorneys. And then And then this woman yesterday talks about, all this stuff with this Adam Montgomery thing, and I'm right back to hating defense attorneys. It's just a par for the course. I thought some of her comments were inappropriate too, in regards to what she was saying. That
Yeah,
basically they were, the prosecution was like, grandstanding kind of thing. I'm like, this guy is a monster. Like, what do you mean?
I agree. I think Raul
So
just checked. I think Raul is in the chat.
yeah, Raul is definitely in the chat. So yeah, listen. If Adam Montgomery is watching, if he has access to internet, I hope, Adam, every time you look into the mirror, that Harmony's on the other side looking back at you. That's it. Just leave that in your head. Let that haunt your nightmares the rest of your life. But what an awful case. But the big fight was like the district attorney was saying, listen, just tell us where Harmony's remains are, and we'll back off a little bit on pushing the sentencing. But that's what the defense attorney was upset about, that he's maintained his innocence, and that if he talks now it doesn't maintain his innocence. Like, oh, come on, nobody knows this guy's innocent. 12 jurists didn't think he was innocent either. So
For a second there, I was hoping he'd make a statement when he pleaded for him to tell us what he did with her body, but
yeah,
I mean, I don't know. This guy's just evil. You're going away forever. Just tell us where she is so that they can give her a proper burial. This guy's a monster. He's just a monster.
Yeah. Like Rob McMullen says, other than Kayla's, the impact statements were great. Yeah, they were, and they were the two women. The I think his ex-wife, the first wife, whatever. After they were done, if you notice, they left, and I think that was a good move, because if they would have listened to that Kayla statement afterwards, I think that would have really tore them apart. And it's unbelievable.
Maybe they did that on purpose. Maybe they knew what her statement was going to be, and they said Justin, because they didn't want anything going off in the courtroom, because that would have just upset everybody more. So,
well, I mean, I was a little concerned at first, Mike. I saw a couple of older court officers.
I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking the very same thing.
I listen, not to be ageism or whatever they call it, but Mike and I are old, but we're not that old. And Adam Montgomery's a pretty big dude.
He's a big guy, yeah.
And he's already killed a couple of people. And there's a lot of anger and resentment in the room. And I would like to have seen a couple of other huge court officers in the room, just to make sure that nothing kicked off, because the tension, you could feel the tension in the room when those statements were going off.
100%, unless they had him behind the scenes, behind the camera. Because you're right. I thought one of the court officers looked like he was kind of like just chillaxing in the back. I said, "That's it? That's all you got? This guy's a monster." I know he's shackled and everything, but
you're worried about someone jumping over the box, right, and getting involved in some of this stuff.
True.
Or him charging the judge. I mean, that's we saw it already, right? That guy who charged the judge and jumped over the thing.
Yes.
They could get pretty far before somebody reacts, and specifically, when if you're not either paying attention or you're not as adept to certain physical requirements that you used to be, things can happen and things can go bad. So, yeah, I was a little worried about that, but I'm glad everything went off without a hitch.
Thank goodness. Thank goodness.
Yeah. So let's get into this absolute nightmare of a trial, this Karen Reed trial. Mike, I went on a tirade on Twitter, as many of you know. That's been viewed like 20,000 times now. So, which I didn't do it because I wanted to see how many times it was going to get viewed. I did it because I was so freaking aggravated about what.
Yeah. You were spot on, because I think everyone felt the same way. It was so bad. It was so much. I was messaging Viv yesterday, and she was like, I basically told her, I am over it. This is so bad, so bad.
Yeah, it's bad. Like I said, well, we don't know what happens today, right? So it's a little difficult to say who won this week. However, if things keep on going the way they're going, this is going to be another win week for the defense, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, the prosecutor, this guy Lally, whatever his name is, put up these witnesses that end up basically helping out the defense in almost every way, and we're going to get into that. But my God, when is the prosecution going to start? That's what I want to know.
When is Proctor gonna get up there?
I can't. That's going to be worth your price of admission alone, Mike. You know what? The day let's just do that. His cross-examination, we'll do that live. I mean, I think we'll share that. I think we're going to do that live because
yeah.
I don't do the whole, because there's so many people that do the the stream, the whole thing. Like, if you want to go watch it, you got the Shaming of Jay, you got Gizacalone, they do all this stuff and they break down. But just specifically for the cops, I think we should do one. And the Proctor one, I think, is something that we definitely need to do, because boy, oh boy, that's going to be the 800-pound gorilla in the room in regards to what transpired. Because one of the witnesses that we're going to get into later is Julie Albert. I think she's in trouble, to be honest with you. But the issue that comes down to is there's two things so far that I've gotten out of this case from the defense. Number one is they have poked holes in the prosecution's case left and right, and I think we're going to continue to see that. Because, folks, remember, the defense hasn't called anybody yet. This is all prosecution stuff that has worked out so far in the defense's favor. So number one, they're going to continue poking holes in the investigation, which they've done. They've done it with the cops. They've done it with the EMTs. Proctor's on deck eventually. Some people have said that the prosecution's not going to call him. So what? The defense will call him. He's getting called. He's going up there. And if he goes up there and he pleads the fifth, this case is over. It's over. You better bring representation. As an American citizen, he can, but from a law enforcement perspective, he'd be in some big time trouble.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, I would hope, I don't know, you're right. He's definitely gonna be ripped apart, but I would hope the prosecution will bring him up. I'm just curious to see what he's gonna say. Did he do anything right?
Well, we're going to get into this in a little bit, but the problem is, and people say, like, Joe, why do you keep on talking about the trial prep? It's not coaching. I'm not talking about coaching somebody. I'm talking about you as the prosecutor. Look at your case. You look at your witnesses. You look at the evidence. You figure out where the defense is going to poke holes in it, and then you find out exactly how you can combat that. And a lot of times, the prosecutor or the district attorney is going to tell you, hey, Joe, listen, we got to get this out there before the defense uses it against us, right? So that's not coaching. That's something to say, this is a problem of the case. But if we can make it into like where you come out with it and say this is the reason why you did it, then we can avoid all of the jumping jacks that the defense is going to bring out and kind of deflate the whole show. That's what trial prep is supposed to be about, and it doesn't seem to be that anybody got prepped at all.
Yeah, I kind of feel sorry for Lally. He just doesn't seem as prepared. Alan Jackson and Yannetti, they're just high-powered attorneys. They're just snipers on this case, and Yannetti's just like a sitting duck. So, I mean, he is the prosecutor. He probably doesn't get paid that much. He probably doesn't get that much help. He probably doesn't have that many investigators like Jackson and Yannetti. So, they definitely got that working for them.
CH says he's lollygagging. Yeah, he's gagging, all right. I mean, but Jay's in the room there. Jay, we were talking about you a few minutes ago. Welcome. I get all that stuff, right, Mike? The prosecutor never gets those high-profile kind of things, but you're the prosecutor. You have the state's power behind you. You have basically an open checkbook in regards to anything that would have cost money to try to do something. And it just seems to me, I'm waiting now for the other conspiracy theories to come out and say that, well, he's doing such a bad job that, he must know that it was going to happen. So he just threw it out there, let everybody sink or swim. I'm waiting for that one now because the conspiracy theories have taken over this case from the very beginning. And I'm not a conspiracy guy. I'm just not. But it is something that it has really affected a lot of stuff in this case. But once again, it comes down to building a prosecutable case and then presenting it in such a way that you can convince 12 people that the person that you have arrested is guilty for the crime that you have alleged. It's as simple as that. And I don't see any of those steps taken so far. I'm shaking the whole desk because I'm so pissed off at this. But it's just, it is what it is now at this point. And you know what? Everybody's made their bed and they're going to have to sleep in it when this thing is over.
I've watched a couple of the people that cover it, and it's funny how it's definitely divided, right? It's divided into the conspiracy people and us that basically say that the cops were just so bad at their job, so incompetent. I mean, I think we're being proven right that the detectives were just terrible at this. The lieutenant, we've seen it with the processing of the evidence. They're just very bad. But I see some of the conspiracy people sticking to their guns. I think, really? Do you really think these guys are capable of maintaining this conspiracy? So bad. They're so dumb. Yeah.
Well, if they have a conspiracy, Mike, they didn't pick the right people because, like I said, once the defense can bring things out. Listen, the defense has done an awesome job about poking holes, like I said, in this entire case. So I was saying the two steps that we're going to see are going to continue to poke holes in the investigation. They continue to go after the cops. And the second thing in this case, they've already set it up yesterday, is the Julie Albert, right? Where the defense questioned her yesterday in regards to her talking to Proctor's wife and the whole thing about a gift, and then Proctor's allegedly saying in the text messages, well, just get something from my wife, right? Like, we want to get you something. As former cops, Mike, we know this is taboo. This is something where you lose your job over. It's bribery, bribe receiving, official misconduct. I mean, you name it. And the FBI is investigating this. So it is out of the hands. I know Internal Affairs is looking into it in Canton, whatever. It don't matter. The feds are looking into this. It's going to get ugly. And like I said, this guy Proctor is in charge of the Brian Walsh homicide, or he shouldn't be anymore. They should have taken him off that case immediately. But Mike, asking for a witness in a case or a potential witness in a case and asking them now to give my wife a gift is to me is just outrageous.
Yeah. Yeah, it's proven that all these electronic devices are just working against people, Google searches, text messages. It's just there forever in the cloud. And it's, in the past, you would just make a phone call or talk to somebody. Now it's all electronically documented. It's just insane.
Alpha She-Wolf says, we rarely talk on the phone. Yeah, and then they produce 67 phone calls in regards to this. I mean, Julie Albert, she's got problems because there was another, situation where she answered the question too soon, and the district attorney objected, but she had already answered the question, which was stupid. And then, opened the door for it. And this is where
maybe Lally was just as surprised at what she was saying. He got caught off guard.
But he shouldn't be, right, Mike? He shouldn't be. He should have known that this woman and they're all friends. I mean, you 67 phone calls between the two. I mean, how do you not know this? How do you, as a prosecutor, you put somebody on a stand and not knowing that this was going to come out? Because if he did, he would have said to her, listen, there's numerous phone calls between you. How long have you known this person? Oh, we've known each other for a long time. Right? It could have set the stage instead of having this big gut punch in regards to what's going on. And Mike and I aren't lawyers, but we're looking at this as we are jurors. And we're looking at this and going, if I'm sitting there as a juror and I'm listening to this, I'm going to be like, my God, somebody's not being totally truthful here.
Maybe he did. Maybe he asked her, but maybe she wasn't being as truthful. When they're doing the prep, they're not, they're not sworn in yet. So maybe the pressure of being on the stand is making them be more truthful. I don't know. I'm just trying to come up with some kind of scenario why he did not know this. So.
Right. But here's the other thing, like that all of the prosecutors, witnesses, if you want to say they did anything, they kind of put the conspiracy theory up against the wall, because everybody that came to they were lovey-dovey, they were, all the different things. So it's kind of like, they were trying to get back at her because they were breaking up and this and that, and he did. Yeah, there's no evidence of that, right? I mean, the last few hours of this guy's life seem to be going pretty good. And if you're telling me that, she set him up and drove him to this house so that they could kill him, and then leave him there and go home, come on. You didn't leave enough time to do all this.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. So
it's not in the math ain't mathing, Mike. That's what I always say. But let's get into well, we already spoke about that. We think that they were overcharged in this case to begin with. I mean, the
yeah, we said that from the way in the beginning, beginning.
And I think that becomes a problem too. And I know they charged her also with the DUI part, about the vehicular manslaughter, but I think that should have been just the ultimate charge instead of murder. You're trying to prove murder, the intent, right? The intent. She's so drunk. I mean, even according to some of the reports, right? So her blood alcohol content at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock in the morning was almost at 0.1. So could you imagine how much it was at when he dropped her off? What was it, like 12 o'clock at midnight? I mean, are you kidding me? How do you have the intent in that?
Yeah. She was probably still intoxicated when she finally left her house again and backed into his car. She was probably still intoxicated. So
right. Well, and Simi's is kind of saying what's happened. She says, in my opinion, with Lally not prepping the witnesses, he's throwing each one of them to the wolves as far as the cross. Yeah, I mean that's what's going to be the outcome of this, right? Lally just basically said this case is a mess, and I'm just going to let everybody fend for themselves. And if they lie and they get perjured and they get caught, they go to jail. It's not my problem. But if that was the case, the prosecutor should have just dropped the charges and moved on, because this is going to affect his career moving forward, right? So the theory that he's just letting this whole thing just come out in the open because that's the right thing to do. No, he would have, if he was really knew about all this stuff and he did this, it's detrimental to his own personal and criminal, not criminal, but his personal life and his professional life, because this is going to haunt him the rest of his life if he loses this case.
I'm going to throw out a crazy scenario out there. I've been thinking about this.
Go ahead.
The crazy one. That perhaps the night that she dropped him off, right? Maybe they did have a little argument in the car, right? He stepped out. She didn't want to go in, and this is just speculation, folks. The people that are related to the victims. I'm just speculating. This is not police investigation. This is speculation. It's possible that he got out. He's upset. She's upset. He could have punched the tail light, broke. She took off, and maybe because he's heavily intoxicated, he could have just stumbled. Maybe she didn't hit him at all. Maybe he just stumbled, boom, fell down, cracked his head, and then nobody's there, to help him, and he just died from hypothermia. Is that plausible? Could that have happened? What do you think?
Anything could happen, but here's the thing that I found interesting. So they played a 911 call, and about when they actually found John O'Keefe. Now, here's the thing, and Mike, from the investigation standpoint, I think this is huge. The female caller says that we flipped him over. So he was found face down.
Oh, wow.
Which maybe his arm is underneath him, right? The arm that's all cut up. Now you got this broken glass. Right, so this is where I'm thinking. So they flipped them. So we're dealing with some evidence dynamics here, where something had happened, where evidence dynamics in this. I think I did this as a quick question already on the community page. Evidence dynamics of things that happen without your control that affect your crime scene. So you have civilians flipping the body over, trying to see if they can now, and now they're given CPR, which also affects the your crime scene also.
Sure.
But, that's an interesting take now, because now maybe when the medical examiner hasn't come out and spoken yet about maybe, and hopefully he or she, whoever it is, tells us how those injuries happen, because now he's face down. So he's got the huge gash in the back of his head. He's got on his arm, he's got the all those cuts
Yeah.
and lacerations. Those are
Yeah.
lacerations. Those look like, blunt force trauma kind of stuff.
I mean, they can easily prove that. If they're saying it's an animal bite, there's going to be animal DNA and saliva on it. They can easily disprove that.
If they took samples, right? If they
Oh,
swabbed it.
True.
Well, yeah, you got to swab that, right, Mike? To see if
Yeah.
there was saliva or animal DNA on there for sure. But I'm not counting on that. But
Not with this crew.
I think that was an interesting little tidbit that he's found face down, that they roll him over, because he was apparently down, face down for a couple of hours too. So it's a little interesting. Yeah, that 911 call, it's up there. You can hear it. If you didn't catch it, you can do that. So Rochella says,
which could explain why his eyes were so puffy. Because if they did find him face down, right, all the blood settling on his face, possibly.
Yes, Rochella says, yes, they took samples with their fingers and placed I'm thinking about the fingernail clippings underneath the fingernails. Well, let's just hope so, right? So Anne says, Anne says, Joe, what do you think about no crime scene photos of the body on the lawn? Witnesses have been all over with the body. Yeah, unfortunately, when you're dealing with a case where they're trying to do life-saving techniques and the EMS is there and they're going to take them away from the scene, that's why, they give the cops their own personal, and they give their own department phones and cameras so you could take photos before something like this happens. Because the idea, remember, rule number one is to protect life. And even if it's going to be, you're going to mess up the crime scene or you're going to let a suspect run away from you, there's always to protect life. So I don't see that as something that they did on purpose, right? The idea is, though, you're the first cop on the scene or you're the supervisor on the scene, which we're going to get into a second because that led to my rant. You got to stop pictures. As simple as that. You got to take photographs. And he doesn't have a body cam on, so that's another unfortunate situation because they don't have them yet. They only have the dash cam. But those body cams, I was a big proponent of it, and this is another case where they would have said if they had a body cam, because you would have collected voices, you would have collected faces, you would have collected some of the crime scene stuff, prove or disprove, the footprints in the snow coming from the house. Were they there? Were they not there? Those are all the things that the body cams would do. And that's why if police departments are still fighting this, show them this, because this is the reason why you have body cams.
Manny just commented probable cause. A dead body is a probable cause. I'm assuming she's talking about knocking on doors, right?
Yeah, a dead body doesn't necessarily mean probable cause. Doesn't mean there's a crime committed yet, right? That's what the preliminary investigation is all about. But yeah, dead body on somebody's lawn, I would have knocked on the doors, said, guys, do you know you have a dead body on your front lawn? Absolutely, I would have knocked on the doors. Mike, would you?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. But I've been thinking about it, how tight knit this community is and how small Department Canton is and how friendly they are with everybody. It's not beyond the realm of belief that they were definitely trying to protect the Alberts and didn't want to involve them. They probably gave them the courtesy because they are law enforcement. I'm not saying, I still don't believe they did this, but I'm sure they extended courtesy. Oh, we're not going to bother you. We're not going to knock on doors. We're not going to look to your house out of respect because of their friendship, which is, of course, no bueno, because there's a dead body on your lawn. We're going to check everybody, 100%. So if they're saying that's part of conspiracy, where they just didn't bother talking to them because, again, they gave them professional courtesy because they are law enforcement, I believe that did happen. They did not want to involve them. They didn't want them involved in the investigation because they're law enforcement. They didn't want to draw attention to them, but they did. They did anyway, right? This is a big case. So again, incompetence, stupidity, unprofessional.
Right. Well, if what you're saying is what actually comes out, then it kind of leads into the conspiracy theory that the cops protected people from doing it, so that becomes part of the conspiracy theory then, Mike. And then, here's the other thing, right? The cover up is always worse than the crime. And if there is a cover up, boy, there's gonna be some serious criminal consequences in regards to some of these things happening. And like you said, sometimes out of sheer stupidity. I mean, good grief, if they find out that they did something like this, listen, you're going to jail. Sorry. See you later.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I know if we responded to that crime scene and we found out it was a member of the service, we're going to do everything we can to make sure that is a proper investigation, right? Now they're saying the state police didn't want to come out because of the weather. I don't know if that's true. I would preserve that until they got there. Nobody touched anything. Photographs before we disturb the body, everything. Big cordon it off, make that crime scene as big as possible, right? And get everyone's names, get talk to everybody, that whole block, if not bigger,
And what else I would have done too is I would have held until daylight before I started searching for anything.
Exactly.
Wait for the daylight. It's in a driveway. It's not going to impede traffic in the morning. It's not going to stop the school buses or anything else. So just hold the crime scene. The people who are in the house, you got to stay in the house. Call them work. You're not coming into work. Simple as that.
And so another thing, they probably said, let's get this process as quick as possible so that the poor Alberts can, resume life. That could have definitely happened too, right? Because it's their property. Let's pack this up. Let's take care of it, so we don't, disturb their routine. Who knows? Who knows what they were thinking?
Well, I wouldn't have been very popular that night at that scene. I could tell you that if I was the detective sergeant at the scene.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. And
sorry.
And that's why you need the state police there, right? Well, I was going to say they don't have ties, but apparently they do. You need an outside entity to investigate something. But it's it reminds me of? It reminds me of that kind of like that movie. With Robert De Niro or Sylvester Stallone and Coptown.
Copland.
Copland. That's what it feels like, right? They're just looking out for each other.
I hope not. I really do. I hope not, Mike. I really do.
Yeah.
Because the cops right now, there's a whole anti-cop bias that's been going on in this country for a couple of years. If they find out that these guys did this, whatever, this is not going to be good. And I hope not. And if they did, I don't lock them up. They really did a terrible thing. They did a terrible injustice to not only themselves but the victim's family, Karen Reed, and then also law enforcement across the country. You've now done this. You've done everybody wrong if that's the case. Oh God, it's insane. Listen,
it is a shame because the victim is a police officer. This poor guy, and they totally flubbed this whole investigation. So it's an injustice to him, to his family members. If they were trying to protect the other cops, during this investigation, it's just bad all around. It's small town police mentality, I think, that's coming into play, and just the lack of experience and training. I hate it to say that, but that's what it looks like.
Well, when you have the lieutenant there, I think it was Lank. That's the day I went off on the rant, saying that he doesn't remember using evidence tape. And like you're in charge of the.
Again, it's possible, right? Small town agency. Maybe he didn't respond to it. What did he do? 24 years, something like that. It's possible he didn't respond to crime scenes. Again, small town agency. I'm guilty of this too. I keep thinking everyone has the same experience as us. So it just blows my mind when I see like people have never testified, they never worked a homicide. It's possible. It's definitely possible. I don't even know how he gets promoted lieutenant. Does he take an exam or does he just get appointed? It's who know.
Well, in the small town police departments, it comes out to nepotism and cronyism a lot of times. I'm not saying that happens here, but in a lot of the small towns, they don't have civil service exams. Everything is kind of like appointed politically and everything else that goes along with it. But here's my point. So I went onto the Canton Police Department website, and they have an investigations unit. It's up there. So the rule is the state is in charge of like all these homicides and stuff like that. That's basically the rule. So Massachusetts State Police is supposed to come down and do this stuff. And I'm sure there's a trooper barracks not too far from I mean, they're right outside of Boston, for crying out loud. This is not
Yeah.
Dedham is right outside of Boston. How do I know this? Because when I visit Boston, which I'm not going to be able to do anymore after this show, we stay at the Marriott in Dedham because the train station is right across the street. You could just walk out of your hotel room, get on the train right there, and take it right into the heart of Boston. And so I know the area well. And I look at this, and Mike, I say to myself, they have an investigations unit, but we have a lieutenant. I don't know if he's in charge of the investigations unit, who doesn't know anything about evidence tape, doesn't know anything about the proper storing of biological fluids, who doesn't understand or qualify an answer about when questioned about why did you use these solo cups and a Stop and Shop bag. And I mean, so my point is this, Mike, and the reason why I went on that rant is if you are a small department and you have a situation where the state's going to come down because they have the personnel and the experience to handle these crime scenes, you need to be prepared for the what if scenario. And here it was. What if there's a blizzard and they can't come, or don't want to come, or they don't have personnel to come because everyone called out sick, right? I mean, that's part of this case as far as I'm concerned about why they didn't come down. That needs to be an internal investigation in itself. You're cops. The weather is not supposed to affect you. We're not like regular people. We don't get to call in and say, hey, it's snowing out. I can't come to work. Too bad. Get to work. I remember, you would try, right, Mike? When you have these snowstorms, you call up the desk and say, yeah, do we have enough manpower? Kind of thing. I remember in the blizzard at 94, I worked 36 or something like that hours straight because people couldn't come in because we had like 30 something inches of snow. And I was there. So you were there, you work. It's as simple as that. So what was the personnel issue going on with the Massachusetts State Police that they couldn't come to a death investigation of a fellow police officer?
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
If that doesn't make you want to, get your SUV, I'm sure they all drive 4-wheel drive cars, right? Or all-wheel drive cars too. I doubt the police cars are, the old Crown Victorias and rear wheel drive cars that you got to get chains put on them. I mean, come on.
I think that just comes down to supervision. Then, if somebody said, if there had to be a higher up that said, "What do you mean there's a police homicide? What do you mean you guys aren't going? You go." Somebody had to direct them to go. So I attribute that to leadership.
But Mike, you had said it earlier. If there's a cop involved in some of this stuff, it's all hands on deck.
For sure.
You shouldn't have to be told to go do something. Even for anybody else, you shouldn't have to be told. There's a death. There's a guy, a suspicious death. You shouldn't have to be. Well, it's no.
Again, I don't know police mentality in these parts of the world. We think like that, right? You've seen this a million times, Joe. You're in the station house, you're on the desk, and we hear a cop screaming on the radio. If it's in close proximity of the precinct, everybody goes out of the precinct. The guy that has a broken arm, everybody. The cop that's limited, everybody runs out. I don't know what happens in small agencies. I think it's just different. It's a different culture. So who knows?
Ann Smith, thank you very much for that super sticker. And I really appreciate that. And I saw Kylie Jackson Bell with the super sticker. Thank you also very much. And I went on a rant. I missed a couple other things. So just a crazy Swifty is now a member for 2 months. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. And I missed Ashley donated. I can't get it on the screen, but Ashley just donated a $20 super sticker. I can't understand why I can't pull it up. But Ashley, thank you very much. Sorry I missed that, but I was on a roll. I was on a roll there.
Scott agreed. Scott agreed with my statement because he was on the job. He's seen it for himself. And somebody just said that's not typical in Massachusetts. That's weird. That's just weird.
Yeah, it says the same up there, but they didn't tell Massachusetts State Police that John was a Boston police cop. Oh, good God. Like I said, but it shouldn't have to be that you only respond to something that happens with a cop either. I mean, you have a death investigation. You are the agency responsible for this. I don't care. Like Mike, I spent 3/4 of my career as a supervisor. If I'm the supervisor in the Massachusetts State Police, I'd be like, if I'd be like, okay, you are going to drive me, and we're going to go down there. Simple as that.
Yeah, I agree. Homicide investigation, any homicide investigation is very important. But if it's a police officer involved, homicide, and the police officer is the victim, I'm not going to lie to people and say it's just going to be a regular homicide investigation. We're going to do our best, I should say, in the NYPD to solve that, to preserve that crime scene, to interview everybody, 100%. And I guess it didn't happen over here. Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, and I know there's some somebody put it in the chat. I just saw it quickly that they called 911. They didn't say that he was a Boston police officer. It shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter if he's a cop or not a cop. You have a death investigation. Your role is in the state police is to come down and do the crime scene. Then that's what you do. I don't care if it's snowing, raining, hurricane, flood, storm of locusts, which is coming this summer apparently.
Just think about this. This is how they did this and this homicide investigation. How many other investigations did they screw up, when it's not involving a police officer?
Well, like I said, the Brian Walsh case is going to be on the docket next with this Proctor guy, and it's just it's going to be interesting to see how that gets handled. I don't think he's going to be on that case any longer after this whole mess. But I mean, listen, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube once it's out.
Rob said, "Go Knicks." Yeah, Knicks are up 2-0, but we're injured. Thank you, Rob.
So the picture that was painted in court this week was very positive for the defense. I said this earlier, but about how good the relationship was, Mike, all the different things. The motive that you would say on this would be a breakup, but apparently, from what these witnesses are saying, that motive is not on the table. MJ, thank you for being 6-month member. 6 months feels like yesterday. I mean, my God, exactly.
Yeah, motive. What motive?
well, you don't have to prove motive, right? For a homicide, you don't have to prove motive in anything. It's just nice that's how you develop a suspect, is finding out the motive, opportunity, and the means, right? The means is someone able to do it. And we're all capable of doing it. It says, what we're willing to do. The opportunity, were they available to do the crime? And that becomes an issue because she drops them off and leaves, right? What is the estimated time of death? And that's why I'm going to key in on what the medical examiner says, because that becomes a interesting aspect of it. But the dynamics that you're dealing with here is the cold. As we know, the cold slows everything down. Black Widow, thank you for gifting a membership. Thank you very much. That is going to be, the ME is going to be, so 2 things I'm looking forward to in this case. The medical examiner testifying and Trooper Michael Proctor.
Yeah, I think everyone's waiting for that witness testimony, that police officer investigator testimony.
Thank you. Cake Spoon says, no one says for crying out loud like New York Sarge. For crying out loud. Yeah, I mean, I guess that was an old saying, right? I don't think anybody says that anymore. I guess they say other bad words. FFS, I think, is the thing that goes on there.
Mm-hmm.
So Cakes Burrow comes through. Thanks, Cake Spoon. I appreciate it.
We need a mug. We need a mug that says Cakes Burrow.
So Simi Sharp got that gift. Black Widow, thank you. So it's Michael Cassidy has entered the room. Good morning, gentlemen. Well done. How are you there, Mike? Hope all is well with you. So yeah, Amy says, I say for crying out loud, but I'm probably Joe's age. Yeah, you probably are. It's probably an old saying there. So if you just joined, Mike, 50 minutes have gone by already. I can't believe it. So just if you guys remember, please like and subscribe to the show. We appreciate that. But it's just like, it's difficult, Mike, to watch this case on so many reasons because one, the prosecution, as far as I'm concerned, hasn't done a good job. And the second thing is that anytime you hear that cops are allegedly involved in cover-ups or corruptions, it really bothers the hell out of me.
It bothers the hell out of me too, because all my friends that are not cops are busting my chops, because now we're getting painted with the same brush, like we do the same, I can't defend stupidity. This is incompetence at the top level.
Yeah.
These guys have a PhD in incompetence. So it's just so bad.
It is. It's bad, like I said. And right now, if you ask me, if you said to me, all right, Joe, what's the outcome of this case? It's a mistrial or an acquittal right now. That's as far as I'm concerned. And not a mistrial, a hung jury. Sorry, not a mistrial, a hung jury. Mia Vito, my Italian grandma used to say managera. Yeah, managera. You got to be careful because there's another part of that managera that you say afterwards. That's a bad curse word, but I won't say it. But
you can't say it. It's Italian. You think Google will pick up on that?
Well, no, it's just I just don't do bad words like that. But
I do.
I know you do. My father used to say it all the time, but it's not very nice. My mother used to get mad at him because the Italians they think like the kids aren't going to understand certain things, certain words, but we will find out if we don't know what they are looking at that. But yeah, so yeah, it paints. If this turns out to be a cover up or a conspiracy, whatever they've been alleging, and that these cops have done some of this stuff, Mike, this is going to be a huge blow to law enforcement. And I don't care if it's a small little police department in Massachusetts, it's going to reverberate across the country. It gives the cop haters something to sink their teeth in and go, see what happens, see what they do.
I gotta remember that, because I think I'm going to be doing a training here in Pennsylvania for law enforcement, and I got to keep that in mind that not everybody has the experience of big city police departments. I made that mistake. I think I told you before and the viewers before. I did a training in Annapolis, and I'm just assuming because they look like they're all our age that they have the same experience, and they didn't. So I'm not going to take that for granted. I'm probably going to talk about this case. I think the training we're going to do is sometime in September. So hopefully this is resolved by then. This is a perfect case study to train police officers on what to do and absolutely what not to do. So,
and Crime Spies brings up a good point that I think we might have mentioned it. In my honest opinion, she says it'll play out part in Delphi too. Absolutely, it's going to play out in Delphi. It's going to play out in Kohlberger. All of these cases, and that we've already pointed out, serious problems with the way things were handled. Not cover-ups, not conspiracies, but just police work that's not done well. Let's just put it that way. And I've been on the record on both of those cases already, and I'm not going to be happy about when that stuff comes out. But the Delphi case is happening soon. The Kohlberger case will be happening in a few months. But Mike and I will be covering those for sure too. This case is, has really caused a lot of, they say it's kind of local. But Mike, when you see the comments on Twitter from the pro Karen Reed and the anti Karen Reed, whatever, just for a lack of better adjectives, boy, it's venomous.
Yeah, for sure. I'm just thinking about it now, like with all the police officers retiring and leaving, that all that experience is out the window. And I'm seeing it now in cases that we're seeing now, not necessarily related to these investigations. And I'm seeing that the police officers, the young police officers, just don't have the benefit of learning from old timers like us. To slow down. Let's figure this out. Don't run in there. Don't overcommit.
Right. Steel Guitar says, Michael Alcazar, I bet the Sarge doesn't pay you enough. Yeah, no, we don't pay. We paid him in sandwiches. We went to an Italian place, Altamonte, is not too far from where Mike lives. I've never seen somebody inhale. Did you have the chicken cutlet, or did you have the eggplant? What did you have?
The pork. I had the pork. Yeah, I totally cone-headed that thing. It just disappeared. But Joe, in his defense, was talking I'm not. I'm starving. So he's telling me stories about whatever we were talking about. I just inhaled that thing. And I think we discussed that. Cops
Yeah.
you just eat fast. I should
Yeah.
say, New York City cops just eat fast.
We pay Mike in sandwiches. There's going to be a new steak place that's going to open up in Philly. I said, well, as soon as it's open, we're going to go out there and sit down and check it out. All right, Mike, a couple minutes left. Everyone's going to be asking for story time.
Oh, shoot. You know, I was telling you earlier, I said, I don't even have a story. I'm trying to think of like a story for a crime scene. I could tell you a quick story about a crime scene. It wasn't really anything spectacular, or I could tell you another personal story involving a bathroom. But
we'll skip the bathroom stuff. We'll skip.
Are you
we'll
sure?
We'll skip the scatological
It's so
stuff.
good. It's kind of funny. I don't know. Let's see what I'm gonna look at the chat. See what they. I could do the crime scene one, but the bathroom. See, Heineman wants the bathroom.
So before we get into the bathroom story, Brooklyn Rules says, "Are you going to do another mystery? Are you talking about like the little videos that I put on there, Brooklyn? I put out there's a members only. Where's the crime scene? I put out for those of you that are members, every month I do a Where's the crime scene stuff. I gave you guys a big hint because there was people kind of got stuck, so I gave you a big hint to try to narrow it down. So go on there and take a look at it and see. All right, so the bathroom story. Legal-minded friends Karen said bathroom story. So here I go. All right, let me buckle up for this one.
Okay, bathroom story, folks. This story I'm going to tell you, we've all done this. Maybe not what I'm about to relay to you, but it happens. So I have a friend, Dan. Shout out to my friend Dan and his girlfriend Nushin. I have a friend Dan who I go walking with. In fact, right after this, we're going to go play basketball at the Y. So as many times during the week, I like to go for walks with Dan. So we walk this day about 4.5 miles, and part of our routine, we're going to stop. What's the comment? I can't see the comment.
Amy wrote, Joe has his finger on the mute button.
Yeah, there's not even going to be any cursing. But
Okay.
So we stop and get breakfast, and we hit this diner that has really good coffee. In fact, the coffee was so good this day, I had 3 cups. So we finish our breakfast. Dan, I believe, paid for breakfast. We go back on our walk. We hit about 3 blocks. And I just said, oh my God, Dan, I think I'm going to have to go to the bathroom. We're 3 blocks away from the diner. We're walking. Yes, we're walking. And there's another coffee shop that we frequent. I said, I'm going to have to stop here. So I go there. And of course, this small coffee shop has just, one stall, one for women, one for men. So I go there. Of course, the male bathroom is occupied. Of course it is. So I'm waiting 1, 2, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, knocking on the door. I think the guy's taking a nap in there. He's not opening the door. He's not even acknowledging me. You know when you're knocking on the door, if you help me out a little bit, nothing. I think this guy was sleeping. So I said, oh my God, I'm about to have an accident. So boom, I go right into the female bathroom. I didn't care. I go right in there, lock the door, 1, 2 minutes, did my business. And now I'm just saying, I'm going to just walk out. As soon as I walk out, of course, there's a woman giving me the dirtiest look just because she knows I just did damage in there. Giving me the dirtiest look.
Jesus.
Yes. So I see her face. I'm a wise ass. I totally pull an Ace Ventura in her and I go, do not go in there. And she looks at me and she goes, great. And I just walk out of there.
Oh God, that's disgusting.
It was.
That was a real shitty story, Mike. And
True story, folks. True
Gilgo
story.
came in just in time to hear that one, right? So we broke down an entire two or three cases, and everyone comes in and we hear we're getting scatological.
I feel sorry. I feel sorry for the people that are watching later, or they're like, "What the hell? What's this got to do with police investigations?" And we had that happen before, but I'm sorry. It's just the last few minutes.
That's
It's
okay.
just
We end every one of these roll calls with a try to leave people in a good mood after talking about all the death and destruction and everything else that goes along with it. And there was actually one person that didn't like that, but oh well, I don't know what to tell you. It is what it is. But listen, Mike, that hour again, once again, flew by. Listen, I want to thank everybody. We were over 220 people again watching us doing the roll call. So it's kind of catching on. I appreciate that. So the Grizzlies are here. Gisela is in the room too. So I want to thank you guys. And if I'm sure Gisela has some stuff lined up for today. She's amazing. She things come out. She's got like an hour video breaking down documents and stuff like that. If I had to keep up with her, I'd have to go into the hospital because I wouldn't be able to sleep. But
like I said, I've been watching some of the other true crime channels. No one's telling a story about a crapper. No one. You only get it. You only get it here, folks.
Yeah. And now you know why I don't pay Mike for anything. So Gisela puts it. Says there's always that one person who doesn't like. Yeah, it's amazing the comments that some people leave. But it is what it is. I mean, listen, we're having a good time. We never intended,
and that's why we do it, right? We do it because it's fun, it's interesting. We want to share experience. If it wasn't fun and it becomes work, we ain't doing it no more.
Exactly. And we get a chance to interact with all these cool people that we meet online. It's that's what the fun is about. That's one thing I wanted to do with this channel. Teach, dissect, analyze, and have a little laugh or a little fun, because that's what police work really is. You had to laugh one time a day. You had to do something like a story like that. You would have been sitting telling your radio call partner while you're in the car running to, a homicide investigation or at a crime scene, whatever. And this is the kind of things that make the days go by. So this is the kind of camaraderie that
So you don't lose your mind, right? So
Exactly.
Nothing gets too serious. You don't dwell on the bad things. So it's therapy.
Yep. All right. So everybody, you guys have a good weekend. So just remember this Tuesday, Kristen Fedden, who took down Bill Cosby in Pennsylvania. So want to tune in there. She's really part of that whole Me Too movement. So it's something that's really important about what's going on, especially with Weinstein. I'm going to ask her about Weinstein. Now he's going to get a retrial. So we're going to get into all that stuff. Folks, have a great weekend, and we'll see you later. Mike, you hang out 1 second. Everybody else, have a good one. Thanks for